Hello,
Chris,
Kristen.
group projects are complete bullshit.
Please don't,
I'm in a really
please
bad mood
don't
right
get me
now.
started. Please don't
I'm in
get
a
me
really bad
started.
mood. I am in a class. I'm taking a class and I want to vent to you because you are a professor and you deal with students. So you are on the other side of this. And I would like to beg you, dear professor, please stop assigning group projects to your students because it infuriates me. I'm back in school and been doing great the past 3, 4 weeks. And then boom, the group assignment gets going and there are four of us in a group. And naturally, I am kind of I don't know, maybe it's just being a cop for 30 years, but I sort of come into a situation and I like to, get things under control. So the first thing I did is go to the group project space. And there are four of us assigned to this group. You click on the group and there are our names and we can communicate there. We can drop files. This is where the communication is supposed to happen. So I lead the conversation. Hey guys, let's talk about what we're going to do because it's due next Sunday and I like to stay ahead of it. And so I post on there and I'm trying to get people know it's crickets. So then I inbox everyone. Hey guys, I'm over in the group. I'm over here and no one's here. And so then a couple people pop up and, then one person starts to grab phone numbers and wants to get on a group chat to set a Zoom. And meanwhile, I'm looking at the assignment and I'm already in my brain formulating.
You mean you've already done the entire assignment in your brain? Is that correct?
I looked at all of the profiles of the people in my group. I don't know these humans. And I saw that there's some medical background. And I thought, okay, so one of the assignments that we have to pick is based on a reading. And I thought, oh my gosh, like healthcare, the connection that I have is I was asked to speak as a keynote at a nursing conference. And I said, what are your biggest challenges in nursing right now? And they said, people are leaving, apathy and disengagement. And it actually fits, it aligns with this research article that we have to base this on. And so I don't even monopolize, like, let's do something cop related. No, I'm like, let's push it to healthcare. So I'm like, hey, here's my idea. And crickets. It's just crickets. And I've been venting to you this whole time because then I decide to outline, like, hey guys, here's some slides. Let's each do a couple slides. But I give one girl one slide because it's the heaviest lift of all.
Nobody else knows that it's the heaviest lift. You know it's the heaviest lift.
I
Let's
here's
just, I want you to stop right
I
now.
need you to rein me in because
I need
I
you to
I
stop
just want to get this
because
done.
stop. One, you don't get to fall on the excuse that maybe it was because you were a cop, because I believe when you were like, what was it, 7 or 8, and your friends got mad at you because only you could be the lead singer of your group.
Barbara Mandrell. I was Barbara Mandrell
Yeah.
of the Barbara
So
Mandrell
that's
sisters.
right. So this has been in your DNA since you were born. So we're not going to let you fall on maybe because you were a police officer, you like to get in and take charge. You've just always liked to take charge. So we're going to leave that alone.
Can we call it get shit done instead of take charge? Can we just call, because I like
I'm
to get shit done.
I'm fine with getting shit done. I love to get shit done. And I'll tell you what, as a professor, group projects are bullshit. And here's why. I
Really?
yes, I teach several different classes at a university, and the one class that I have a group project in, that I don't write the curriculum, the university does. This is now my fourth time teaching this class, and each time I go to the department chair and say, "Can we please get rid of the group project?" Because, Kristen, there's two types of students. There's you, and then there's everyone else. And my students that are like you, in the beginning of the semester, I talk to all my students and I say, hey, this is an online course. The best thing you can do is stay 1 week ahead of your assignments because let's be honest, life happens.
Thank you.
Sometimes kids get sick, work is overloaded, something happens with a family member, and you don't get your posting done on time. But if you're a week ahead, you don't have to worry about that. And I have several students like you that are, I would say most of my students are like you, and they're amazing. They post ahead of time. Their assignments are always done correctly. Don't even get me into my students who can't seem to read the directions because they do the first thing and then they don't do anything else that's assigned in it because they believe that they've accomplish the assignment.
So that's a part of the, like, what's going on here. Like, I'm in a PhD program, and one dude, I like outlines, like, hey guys, here's where I'm thinking, not married to it, so I wasn't trying to be bossy. And literally then he said, can you tell me what's going on? Basically, it was almost like a where am I? And then another student had to describe, is this your experience with your students as well? I'm like, what do you mean?
Yes.
What do you mean? What is this?
Yes. At one point, I actually had a meeting with my department chair because I was worried that I was failing as an instructor, because I care. I want these kids, and they're not kids. I mean, they're
grown ass people.
They're grown ass people, and I want them to learn, and I want them to get through and pass, because you're spending a lot of money to take this class. You're spending $3,000 a class, and you're going to fail because you don't complete the entire assignment. They have to post by Thursday and respond to 2 peers by Sunday.
Yeah. It's not that hard.
And in the beginning, every week, I also say, please watch your due dates. Also remember, cite your references on your original post. Here's a website that you just have to put in the ISBN number of your whatever it is, and it will kick out the reference for you.
Yeah, it's not that hard.
60% of my students don't cite their reference and lose points.
Okay, and that's right there explicitly in the directions.
And I put it in an announcement every single week. But let's get back to group projects. This is a group project that from week 1, I say you will have a group project at the end of the semester. Get with your people now. You have to post your presentation so your peers can see it, because then you have to watch the people in your group. You have to watch their presentation and then have a thoughtful conversation about it, as well as view 8 presentations. And class is over Friday night. Thursday, I start getting the panicked emails. My students like you, Monday, I get the panicked emails. Nobody's posting. I can't see it. How am I going to be? You're going to hold me accountable. And it's 100 points. You're going to hold me accountable because no one else is posting. Can you reach out to your peers? They do. I have emailed them. I have tried to find them. And there are people who just, Kristen, I can't even tell you the amount of people who just don't even. I am 54 years old and I am not a tech genius. I am not, but I can figure things out. These are 20-year-olds and they can't figure out how to record themselves on Zoom with their slides in the background to do a presentation. And the directions are explicit in their school website on how to do it. So they just don't do it.
Yeah, my favorite pastime is listening to you curse in the other room. And then I come out, I'm like, what is going on? And then you read me some of your students' emails to you that they just can't figure out. I'm like, watch, you just go into PowerPoint and you hit record. Like I'm 52
I
can figure it out.
I'm like, and you can.
And which was so funny because then when I got my first presentation that I had to give via PowerPoint, which was independently on my own, I was like, Chris, I have to record myself giving a presentation on PowerPoint. I've never done that before, but guess what? I'm going to figure it out. And I literally hit one button. I go, this is what your students can't figure out. Okay. But here's what this is what I need to wrestle with is I joined this program because it's an online PhD program. So that means that I can work independently at my own pace. And my pace is get up every morning and grind for 2 hours at least and stay at least a week ahead of my assignments because our life happens,
That's how it should be done.
Yes, there's podcasts to record. I've been a guest on 2 podcasts this week. I host 2 podcasts, one with you. I write. You're working on my second book. I have to work on my next keynote and I've got shit to do. And I'm making the assumption that my other PhD cohort members, also have shit to do. So let's get this done. But these are PhD students. And, one guy's like, where am I? So then now we're on a group chat, via our personal phones, because that's where we're communicating. But then we're supposed to communicate in this group, which actually makes more sense. I've been dropping files in there. That's where we're going to put the PowerPoint, but then they won't answer that. So then I'm inboxing them. So I'm trying to communicate with them on 3 different, and my patience is running thin. And then here's where I go. And then I'll let you launch. But I'm thinking, I ran a police department. And so my first thought is, why professors? why universities, why do you make us do this? Because other people drag other people down. And then I know the answer, because this is exactly what team play is all about. You ran an organization, Zeman. You should know how to, be a member of a team. Yeah, I get that. And I'm a good member of a team, but not when I have laggards. I have zero patience.
So that therein lies the issue. Now listen, my students are bachelor's and master's candidates in things like psychology, criminal justice. Team projects aren't really necessary. You are getting your PhD in organizational leadership and you can't do a group project.
Yeah.
See, do you see?
So that's what I'm saying. Am I the
You're the problem. I mean, your peers are also the problem, because my students, my favorite students are the ones that are like you. They're always a week ahead. They're always working ahead. But I mean,
I outlined, I was like, hey guys, let's do something in your field. Here's
because
what fits. Not married to it.
Why you're the problem is because of what you just said before we started this. My patience is running thin because I have laggers. That's your problem. You're doing everything else right. And that's kind of, I mean, I have been with you for over 20 years, and that is your problem with more than just.
This is my problem in life. People move so slow.
If there is a lagger and they are not meeting what you believe they should be doing, your frustration shows.
Yeah, it does. I've been working on it. But in this case, I really have. I've been trying to live more in the moment. I've been trying to go, why are you in such a hurry? I mean, even at the Piggly Wiggly, we live in Naples, Florida. People here are slow AF.
Yeah.
And
why do you think when you're like, do you want me to drive? And I'm like, no, I don't. When you say, do you want me to go to the store with you? No, I don't.
Yeah. Here's the thing. It's just that, like, this is my grade and I take it very serious. I'm one of those overachievers, one of those perfectionists. And all I did was I didn't say, guys, here's what we're gonna do. I was like, hey, here's a thought. I thought, just everybody get on board. I just drafted an outline and I was like, I can't even get people to talk in the same platform. And it's due next Sunday. And that is 1 week from, and I've got shit to do.
Hey, remember, C's get degrees, baby. C's get degrees.
And see, that is exactly what I need to think. But you and I have both had this conversation. And
I can't either.
Like,
I can't.
When you tell me that your students, like, an assignment due date whizzes by and you're like, yeah, how many of my students did not turn in their assignment? And then it becomes like closing grade time. You have to get all your grades in and you're chasing them. And I just think, I have never been built that. In my life, a deadline has never gone past me because I would throw up. I know I'm such a rule follower, and
I'm the same way. I can't
even imagine.
In my master's program, I got 1 A-. So I got a 3.9. And I am still mad about it. I'm still mad.
I'm actually grateful to hear, though, because I thought you were going to say, as a professor, look, I get the rubric. And we also, by the way, we have to grade each other afterwards. So that's why I also have to be careful about being overzealous, because I don't want people to say, well, Bossy Pants walked in here and laid the outline. I'm just trying to make life easier for people, trying to pick a topic that would resonate with them, that aligns so perfectly to our reading. It's like it practically writes itself when you look at the research. And I also took the liberty of getting some research, and I dropped in, all of the research sites that I found that support this. And so I'm like, hey guys, let's do this. But
yeah, here's the thing about that. The reason you understand, because you ran an organization, but the reason why your organization ran as well as it did was because of the people you put in place to run it with you.
Oh, yeah.
So you took people that had strengths you didn't have, and you put them in places to help you take the ball over the goal line. Correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. You are not choosing your team members in this group project.
Fair.
So
never met them.
You're right. You've never met them, and you have no idea what their life is like. You have no idea what, maybe their C's get degrees. They don't care. And here's the thing. I would prefer that person who won't answer or is too busy to just say, listen, I'm not going to pull my end of the load, but if you want a good grade, just get it done. And I'd be like, sir, yes, I will. And here's what you need to learn to do the presentation, because if you get a shitty grade on your presentation, that's not on me. My grade
Yeah.
will still be great, you know?
Right.
So I wish those people, those laggers, would just say you're a lagger. Say, listen, I don't give a shit about this group project. So listen, you get it done. I'll ride your coattails because I wouldn't be mad about that. If I was the lead, I wouldn't be mad. I'd be like, "Thank you for being honest that you're an idiot, and I
Mhm.
will carry the load because I want an A."
Same. You've literally just teed us up for this podcast, the topic that we're going to talk about. And nobody ever says what they're expecting from each other. And you're so right. I would absolutely respect someone going, "Hey guys, just to let you know, I'm not going to pull my weight here. So you guys are going to have to take the heavy load." And I would be like, "Thank you. I am on it." Welcome to Moments of Reckoning. I'm Kristen Zeman.
And I'm Chris Tunney.
We are married to each other and we are former cops. We accidentally started a home baking business, and we are also enthusiastic critics of things that probably don't matter as much as we think they do. And every week we start out with whatever is on our minds, and that just happened to be on my mind today. And then we follow it somewhere a little deeper, because eventually every conversation leads to what we call a moment of reckoning. A moment when the truth becomes absolutely impossible to ignore and choice has to be made. And that is where today's conversation begins. With that tee up is the picture in our head. And so maybe group projects aren't actually the problem, but maybe expectations are. And I concede to the fact that I expect everyone to be equally as enthusiastic as I am about the group project and to get it freaking done. But we could talk about expectations and our experience in Paso Robles when we were in wine country over the past week. That was a really cool experience.
Yeah, and I think for me, Brene Brown put it in perfect context for me several years ago when I read her book, Rising Strong, and she talked about managing expectations. And that really was a moment of reckoning for me. Like that was a life-changing moment for me. When I read that,
Mm-hmm.
it made me understand that I had to be honest about my expectations and be willing to listen to, let's say, your expectations for the same
Mm-hmm.
moment we were in and meet in the middle because
Yeah.
somebody was going to be disappointed. And I that really changed,
Yeah.
whether it was professional or personal, you, our kids, my friends, that really changed my life and for the better because I stopped being disappointed.
Yeah, it's a big thing to do, and yet it's one of those things that sounds simple, but it's not.
It's
You know,
not.
don't overcomplicate it, but yet, gosh, it's so complicated. And so, and the reason I bring up Paso Robles is because we had a moment of expectations, and our friend Tom, who is a wine writer, we went to Paso Robles with he and his wife Sue, and we were so grateful to be the benefactors of his knowledge and Sue's knowledge as well. They both are very well versed in wine. And he set up all of these vineyards for us to visit. And he made a comment, or it was more an observation. He said one winery, and he had, remember, all of these set up in advance. And these were all the wineries that he wanted to visit and ones that he wanted to write about. And he said only one winery reached back out to him after his appointment and asked, "Hey, tell me what you're looking for." They sent out a questionnaire. What kind of experience are you hoping to have today? Do you want to just sit down, relax, and drink some wine? Or do you want to learn about the history of the owner, how they plotted this land that they have built their winery upon, the head winemaker, the assistant winemaker, what are the blends that they use? And of course, Tom opted for the educational portion, and that's what we wanted as well. We were there to learn as well. And that was the only winery that said, what kind of experience do you want to have? So when we got to that winery right out of the gate, they came out with the varietals and took us in the back, and we got to drink out of the barrels, which was a rare gift,
It
right?
was
I mean,
amazing.
it
So
was just
great.
incredible. And to also hear this is, this is the soil that they chose and the location that they
And
chose.
why?
Right, because they're soil nerds. And so the point I'm trying to get at here is only one winery asked that question, and as a result, when we sat down, they came on with the full experience that we were hoping for. Every other winery took them a minute to figure out that Tom is educated and is a wine writer, and then a lot of them sent someone else out to talk to him. It was like that person that greets them. You can tell they're used to just people who are there like, hey, let's just try these wines, where we're there to sip and spit and we're there to learn. And once they figured that out, they would send someone else out to talk to us. And I thought, they would have saved a little bit of time in the small talk and figuring out, yeah, no, this dude knows what he's talking about and the questions that he's asking over some of their heads, right? And I wondered, why doesn't everyone ask what the expectation is? And this is about group projects in school. This is about our organizations. But, the expectations never become real because they're never declared, either because they're never asked or because we don't have the courage to offer them. And I just find this whole topic fascinating.
Yeah, and I think it's more on us to, especially career-wise, even in a relationship, as it's more on you to be clear about what the expectations are, because I can't meet an expectation that I don't know is there, right? We spend our whole lives saying, "Do unto others as they would do unto you," right? I want someone to treat me the way that I would treat them, and the thing is we're not the same. So if my expectation is that you're going to behave the way that I would behave towards you, I am constantly going to be disappointed. We have two different love languages. We find two different things important in life. So if we're not clear, even going into a restaurant, if you are not clear of what your expectation is walking in, how can anyone meet that expectation? And it's so interesting because Tommy is so knowledgeable. And I noticed in some places, he didn't say what he did. He didn't say that he had been a wine writer, a columnist for over 30 years. And that speaks volumes to someone who this is their job.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're just honest about, this is who I am, this is why I'm here, then we got the people who came to the table who wanted to give us what we really wanted to know. So I think that's it, is if every one of us took on our own responsibility to be honest about what our expectations are, then right away the person you're dealing with can say whether they can meet them or not meet them.
Yeah,
And
this
be
is so
honest if you
good.
can't meet them. If you can't meet my expectation, just like your group project, that's
Yeah.
when you look at me and go, "Hey, I'm not you, and
Mhm.
that's not going to happen. Here's what I can offer, and if that's not enough, then we're not going to meet here."
Yeah, you know that I've been working on this pressure gauge model that I don't know what else to call it, so I just call it the crisis pressure gauge. And as part of that pressure gauge, there is the first part that is blind. And that's precisely what you're talking about, is you don't know what you don't know. These people did not know that Tom was a wine writer, and so they just assumed that they were just like any other jamoke off the street that booked a wine tasting and just was like, "Oh, let's get drunk a little bit and have some fun." It wasn't that. And so then they become aware, and that's the second part of it. Now, the awareness comes from a disruption, and a disruption could be just like you said, it is, what if we all got better at saying, here is what I expect from this? And like, you mentioned relationships, and the most simple example is, when you start dating someone, you date someone because this is a prospective mate. And so the first thing that you talk about feasibly at, maybe the first or second date is, do you want kids? That's big, because imagine getting married and then going, wait, you don't want kids? I literally assumed that we were going to have kids. you never told me. You never asked, so it's like at the most basic level. So that to me is obvious. Like, and both of us have told our kids, who you choose as a partner is the most important decision that you make in your life. And one thing that you and I both drive home is, the financials of your partner as well. I want to know right away. Honestly, if I were back in the dating world, the first question I would ask is, tell me your credit score.
I think you did.
Like,
I think you did ask me that.
so that's pillow talk for me. Like, what's your credit
Yeah.
score?
I
Like,
think you
have,
were like, "Can I see
yeah,
your bank accounts?" And I'm like,
yeah.
"I have no debt."
Do you let credit cards roll over every month? Because
That
if so,
that is a giant question. Yeah. That is very, very important to me.
so
Like,
these are what we're talking about. Your basic expectations in a relationship, you really do have to get to those, because otherwise you're not going to be compatible mates. If you let a credit card roll over and I don't, well then, we're going to have some issue there, right? And so that is the most basic. We become aware, but it's the harder things. It's the things that you and I trip up a lot. Why we don't say the thing. It's I honestly don't know what the problem is aside from fear. Expectations aren't the problem, because it's like once after the fact, we go, well, that's not what I expected. And then you're like, well, that's not what I expected. And it's the same with an organization. You know, people who get hired in places and they're like, wow, it was nothing like I was expected. And that's the example that I gave in the newsletter that I sent out, is the Airbnb CEO. He literally, before he hires people, he says, listen, friends, before I hire you, I need you to know that I am a micromanager, that I'm not a hands-off kind of boss. I am the kind that's going to call you after hours. And if you want autonomy, go start your own business. He is quoted as saying that. So now I know, well, if I join this company, I know exactly what to expect. But what happens is that conversation is never had. And then we get there and we're like, wow, no, this dude's a micromanager. And you wonder how that happened, because no one ever said anything sooner. So that's the awareness. And I think that is the heart of this episode, is that, you know, why don't we ask what the expectation is of someone else? And if we're not asked, why don't we offer it? Why?
I think you hit it on the head. One is fear, especially in personal relationships. You know, work wise, I don't know, because any job, you know, when I started a new position at the police department and where I went into different units, I always sat down with my boss and said, "Tell me what you want. You know, I'm learning this job, or I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing this. What are your expectations of me?" And I
Yeah.
had bosses who were very much like, "Listen, I don't care what you do for the 8 hours that you're here, as long
Yeah.
as your shit's done." And then
Yeah.
I had other bosses who, you know, drove around behind me and said, "What are you doing? What are you
Yeah.
doing right now?" I'm like, "Well, I'm writing a warrant." Well, then what are you going to do? What do you
Right.
mean? Then what am I going to do? You know, so I've had both bosses, and the secondary one was terrible. But I think that anytime you're going to a professional setting, you have to just, especially if you're the boss, set expectations for your employees, set expectations for the people who you're, even your peers. Like
Yeah.
when I had partners as a detective, I was clear about my expectations, because I'm not going to get angry because you're not doing your shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and just be honest with me. If you can't do it, that's fine. Or if you something comes up in your life, I'm the first one. Pick up the phone and call me and go, "Hey, you know, things broke bad. Can you take that interview today?" Absolutely. I'm happy to take it. You know,
Yeah.
we could do that for each other. Personal lives, I think it's just very different. I think it's the same with our kids, right? We all have expectations of each other, and you know, when your kids are younger, you have to put your expectations out there. Here's what I expect from you. Here's what I'd like you to do. And I think that there's a lot of parents today, they want to be their kid's friend. You know, so they don't want to put expectations on them because they'd rather be their buddy than be their parent. And now we're seeing the fruits of all that in our students and the
Yeah. That's
people
a
that we're
great
dealing
example.
with. Because when you go to them with an expectation,
Mm-hmm.
they think you're picking on them.
Yeah. You brought up a great example about work, when you went to your boss and you said, "What are your expectations of me?" I love that. And that leaves you with no uncertainty about what that boss wants from you, and then you adapt accordingly. And I do the same thing as I was just thinking about, like, how do I do that in my present day now that I'm out of the, you know, the professional workforce and entrepreneur? And it's the same thing I do with keynote organizers, those who are hiring me to speak at a conference. What I ask them is, give me
Mhm.
what you believe would be an 11 out of 10 in my delivery. Tell me what expectations you have of me for your audience, because that is literally what I am there to do, to make sure that I'm meeting your audience expectations. And we go through them. Here is what I'm looking for. I want them to feel inspired. I want them to feel challenged. I want that. And that helps me. And that's why I ask the question. And so, but I want to go back to fear, because when I think about that, I think how easy that is. And this whole fear thing, and I'm trying to really tap into it. Like, what is so scary about saying, "Hey, what do you expect from me?" And maybe this is where I think there is a differentiation, because I'm really good at that in work life, in organization, and in being a student. I am really good with, "Professor, tell me what you need." Plus, we have a rubric. I mean, it's right there. I
But
know.
where are you really bad at it?
Yes, but I'm trying to outline why I don't know that it's fear. Because I'm not scared of it. I don't, that's the wrong, it's not hitting with me. And I'll give you a great example. And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but this morning, you were sitting out on our lanai and I was working, but you had like 20 minutes until you had to leave to go play pickleball. And I saw you out there. And when I went to go get another cup of coffee, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go sit out there with you. And
And I didn't talk to you.
you didn't even look up from your phone. You just kept strolling on fucking Facebook. And I was like,
It was Instagram, but
okay.
yes.
And so after 20 minutes, I was like, okay, well, you have not said a word to me. I came out to talk to you. And why in that moment did I not just say, can you put your phone down and talk to me? But instead I shrugged my shoulders and you saw me and I went, okay.
What is
and
so
walked in.
funny is that when you walked out, I'm like, I honestly had this thought. I'm like, oh, she's going to want to talk to me. So I waited. So I sat there and I waited for you to say
No,
something.
you didn't. You literally kept scrolling.
Listen. First of all, you have no idea what was going through my head. So don't tell me what I did.
You did not put your phone down.
You're right.
You didn't close your app.
You're right. But I clocked that you came out and I thought, oh, she's going to talk to me. But you also have to understand there are mornings you come out and sit. You just want to put your face in the sun. You don't want to talk. So same thing. So I should have looked at you and said, hi, do you want to have a conversation or do you want me to just keep my mouth shut? There are days where you want to converse about things and I'm 100% in, but there are other days where I will start to talk and you're like, please don't talk because I can't hear my voice for another second. So I clocked that you came out and I'm like, ooh, she's going to talk to me. And then I showed you one reel on a golf thing.
Yes, and I was so disinterested.
I know. And you were. And then I thought, and I actually thought in my head, okay, she doesn't want to talk today. So, okay, so I'm just going to leave her alone unless she changes her mind. So I clocked all of that. And then you got up and left and I was like, okay, I think I clocked it wrong. But then I had to leave. So it was, that's the thing that's so funny. You're 100% right. Because if I would have just asked, or if you would have just said, we could have had 20 minutes hanging out and just talking about what the day had in store.
But see, now I just understand. And now I just answered my own question because it's just the wrong word for me. It's not fear. It's just that there have been times as you know, my phone, I check my sleep score in the morning. That's it. Then my phone sits in that bedroom and because sometimes when it rings, I'm like flying in there. I don't touch my phone. I'm not touching my phone. The only time I allow myself to touch my phone is after dinner. And then I will go, all right, you are allowed to scroll. But there have been times where, I'm like, maybe you should put your phone down, and you have bit me. And so that's why, so I'm not scared, but I'm just like, all right, well, so you're in there and you see me sitting here and, and I have my coffee. I have no phone. I'm not interested in what the reel you're showing me. And so I'm thinking you should figure out that I just want to talk to you. I don't want to tell you to put your phone down because then you'll be like, you get defensive. You must admit that you get defensive.
Okay. I think that this really is about expectations because had you just come out and said, and not in the way that you do things like, do you think you could put your phone away and talk to me? But if you would have just said, hey, let's just talk about what the day has in store. Like we have to do a podcast. And I would have set my phone down and been 100% in tune with you.
Because read the room, Chris. That's all you need to do is read the room. So my expectations are you to just read the room. I don't have a phone and I'm sitting there staring at you with my coffee. You just didn't get it.
You never have your phone in the morning because you're on your computer, because you are watching YouTube videos and you are doing your emails and you are doing your assignments and you're listening to a podcast and you're doing all those things on your computer and you're texting, and anything you need to do, you can do on your computer with the exception of scroll through your social media.
I do not go on social media. That is, like I said, that's the thing that I allow myself after dinner.
You didn't listen to me.
Well, then call it work. Call what I am doing work instead of, because you're making it sound like I'm just dicking around.
But you listen to podcasts and for you, that's, well, so do I. I watch podcasts all the time. Right. I'm just saying that you don't need your phone because you have everything you need on your computer with the exception of social media. I don't use a lot of social media. If you actually looked at the hours, I very rarely scroll through social media because it's sometimes because I recognize when I do it, I get in that stupid loop and I can't put it down. So when we're here at night, like I'll play solitaire on my phone for a half hour when I'm bored, but I'm not on social media.
Anyway, we beat this horse to death, but
The
it's
point
a great
is it's
example.
about being clear of what we want from each other.
It's a great
Because
example. And this exactly is what I was trying to say, is that the big obvious things like, do you want to have children? What's your bank account?
right,
What's your credit score? Those are the big things. But sitting down when I just want you to talk to me in the morning and you're not, and yet it's not fear, but maybe it's pride of like, why should I have to ask you? I'm
right.
literally sitting here. Why wouldn't you just stop
Okay.
scrolling on
It's
Instagram?
it's
So
like
it's something
it's like
like
the
that.
other day when I said to you the other day, I don't like when you don't come to bed with me
Hmm.
because there's a little bit of time in the morning, not always, and then there's a time at night where even if it's just 20 minutes
Hmm.
that we're in, we're in bed and we're talking and it's just our time. And I really like that. And because recently you're not tired at, I'm tired at 9:45. I want to go to bed. And you want to stay up until you want to fight and try to stay up until 10 because your eyes aren't tired. But I just want you to come to bed. And a couple nights in a row you didn't. And finally, I finally said to you, I don't like when you do that. I want you to come to bed with me when I go to bed because I really love that time. And so now when it's I try to compromise and stay up until 10 and you go to bed with me at 10 instead of staying up until 10:30 because your eyes aren't tired.
Hmm.
You know?
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. When we're clear about our expectations to each other, really great
Yeah.
things happen. But when
Yeah.
you want me to read the room in the morning when I don't know how you've slept or what, because your brain works, the way your brain works, if I interrupt when you're in the middle of a thought, that that doesn't help you.
Right.
Like,
That's, yeah, that's my
and I
whole
know, and
focus and
I right,
80.
and you're getting right, but you're getting ready for a big presentation, you know. So I don't listen. I'm not afraid to talk to you, but I don't say anything to you until you're ready because I don't know where you're at in that loop in your brain, and I don't want to interrupt it because you're getting ready for something important. You're putting together a newsletter. You're working on your book. You're working on your PhD. You're doing all this stuff. So
Yeah.
for
This
me to
is
be
what's,
like, hey, what do you want for dinner tonight? Some days you're like, oh my God, let's have this, this, and this. And other days you're like, why are you asking me? Just do it.
yeah,
You
I
know?
just don't care. Right. So, and this is
Right.
where I think it's important that, so this is the nuance of it, because what happens then, if I don't come to bed with you at, and you then will stew, like just hypothetically, I know you really don't because,
No,
but
I
like
go to sleep.
hypothetically, yeah, I was going to say you literally go right to sleep. So this isn't one of those situations, but it could be for someone else
Mm-hmm.
where they're like, oh my gosh, I just want you to, spend time with me and you're not. And so but they don't say anything. And so they silently stew. And just like this morning, I shrugged my shoulders and went, well, okay, and walked inside. And then I
And
stewed. I
then
was like, oh,
and
yeah,
then resentment builds.
that's right. And so it's like, you go from blind to aware, but then that's the moment of reckoning. It's right there. That is the moment of reckoning, is that why don't we just say the thing? And you're right. Tone matters, because I could say, can you get off your fucking phone? And that is not helpful. But instead, I should say something like, before you go, 20 minutes, let's chat, and
Yeah, and
that's
I'm in
exactly how I should say it. But instead, I'm annoyed already because you can't figure it out on your own.
because you
So,
look at me as a lag.
so this is the point. It's like pride, laziness. And honestly, what I think I fall on, and this is literally applies to everything, the belief that everyone should just know. It's like when traveling and I'm like, stop doing what you're doing. Just have some social awareness. Like, you should just know that you shouldn't stand up on the plane when it stops because your ass is in my face because I'm in an aisle seat. This is the belief that I have in the world, that everyone should just fucking know what to do to respect others. And so this is the nuance that we get into our organizations, into our life. And so what we're hitting on is the price of silence. This is the moment of reckoning. And at some point, the problem isn't that nobody told us. The problem is that we never asked nicely. Never asked nicely. And so I think that we just need to really underscore that, is this is where people get tripped up, is like, it's that silent seething that we do. And so the
I'm
reckoning,
so mad right now.
There's a great example that I have also about a friendship. This is also all relationships. So, gosh, this is so applicable to organizations and friendships. But, we have a friendship with someone we love so, so much. And we moved away and we don't see her that often. And so, several months in advance, I said, hey, we're coming to Chicago and let's plan a dinner. So in my mind, it's kind of like with the group project. I laid the groundwork, I am setting it up. I am a planner. And so I'm like, hey, in a couple months we're coming, let's get dinner. And then as it gets closer, she says I was like, hey, are we going? What's happening? And she's like, you know what? I just really I don't feel like driving that far. And I got so upset. I took it so personal, and because we don't have a car when we come to Chicago. Of course, she lives in the burbs. It's a far drive for her, and full-time job, family, like so many plates spinning. But I immediately fall into and this is what I do a lot. I fall into if they wanted to, they would. And then in my mind, I'm like, if they wanted to, they would. And she obviously doesn't want to see me. And so then I shut it off. I build the wall and go, fine. And so then I now retreat. We never spoke about it. I just went, okay, you're not going to meet us. Like, you don't feel like driving. Well, if you wanted to, you would. And then, of course, it took me being in the hospital thinking I was dying of pancreatic cancer. And I like said something to her of like, I'm so tired of like the lack of reciprocity. And she offered a very different side. She's like, the last time you were here, you didn't even let me know. And I was like, oh, but I was here just to speak. I just blew in. But in her mind, it was like, you came here and you didn't see me. And so both of us had these expectations that we didn't speak about. And so we're offering here's what I think for me, organizational expectations are easy. I love putting things in writing. I love telling people, here's what I expect of you. I was really good at that. I was good at delegating. I was good being in teams and things like that. My problem is in personal relationships. If they wanted to, they would. And then if they don't want to pick up the phone, if they don't want to have a conversation with me, then I'm like, I'm done, and I need to get better about having those expectations. And
So I think that maybe fear is a good word then, because
maybe
I would wonder, is it also that if you put your expectation out there and they don't meet it, that now you're hurt, that they don't care enough to meet that expectation? Because I will tell you that for me that is the first place I go with my personal relationships. You, the kids, our friends. If I put an expectation out to you, I really don't like when you don't come to bed with me. I want you to come to bed with me. And then a week from now, you don't come to bed with me.
Yeah.
I'm going to be mad because I'm going to think, you know what? This is just one more time that I have told her what I needed.
Yep.
And she put her needs in front of mine. And for me, that's hard because I am terrible at putting my needs first. I put
this is it.
Everyone else's needs before mine.
This is the reckoning. This is the moment of truth and choice and I think you're onto something. If I don't say it, then I won't be let down if you don't do it, or I will, but it's not as bad as if I do tell you what I need from you. And that is what I think really hinders relationships.
Right, because then what happens if you don't? Now I have to make a decision.
Yeah.
A decision that I probably don't want to make. Am I in the right relationship?
Yep, that's right. And what basically what we're saying is what is this person asking of me right now? I'm not ready to come to bed with you, or I don't want to have a conversation with you on the lanai in the morning. But if I say, can you please talk to me? And then you go back to your phone and don't, that's going to be far worse than me just getting up going, okay. So I think you're onto something big there. It's like when people say, here's what I need from you, even if it may not be the same kind of need, or maybe you don't even understand why they need that. As you mentioned earlier, love languages. We have very different love languages. Mine is acts of service and yours is physical touch and quality time. Mine are words of affirmation, and if I'm like, I don't understand why you need that, but you've asked it of me, but I'm like, but I don't get it, so I'm not going to do it. That is a choice.
It's been 20 years. You still don't understand why I need it.
but I don't withhold it. That's a choice. Like there's
No.
sometimes I forget. But if I purposely was like, I know what you need and I'm not going to give it to you, that is a moment of truth and choice. That is a moment of reckoning. And that's why we have to check ourselves and go, here is what this person is asking of me right now in this moment. So I think that is a really big part of it. But the moment of reckoning isn't always when someone disappoints you. It's when you realize maybe they never agreed to the expectation that you're holding them accountable.
Yeah. Yeah. And recognizing that a lot of times it's too big of an ask to put our expectation out because we're afraid we're going to be disappointed.
Yeah. And we feel exposed. Like to say, I
You
need
know?
something from you.
And
Like that's so
especially,
hard.
yeah, and especially in relationships or family dynamics, because we already know,
Yeah.
right? You already know what your partner's like. You already know what your kids are like. You already know what your parents are like, or insert whoever here. So you already know if you put it out there, they're probably not going to do that, you know, or if you put it out there, they will do that. So you can look at it both ways, but I think that the ones that we're worried that our expectations won't be met,
Yeah.
that those are the ones where we're really,
That's
I
scary.
know I really
Mhm.
struggle to put my
Yeah.
expectations out because,
Well,
it's
and
easier
also,
to keep the bar set so low that you're
mhm.
pleasantly surprised
Yeah.
than to put your expectation out and be disappointed.
But I also want to point out something here. There are going to be times where there is an impasse where if and let's just use your bedtime example because it's pretty innocuous and, relatively harmless. But, let's say that you say, I really would like you to come to bed with me at 9:30. And I'm like,
And you
Chris,
say, no, I'm
I,
not tired.
but I would love to, but like you fall asleep immediately. And then I'm lying there going, I wish I would have just stayed reading my book. But do you see, there are times where some expectations genuinely cannot be met. And that I think is a great conversation to have. Is like, I hear what you need from me, but here's what I'm able to offer, but here's what I
Right.
can't. This is also, I have to think about my well-being too. And I'll just lay there and spin and it doesn't work.
No,
And so
listen, and
you
that's where
can't
you
just
compromise.
acquiesce. Yeah,
Right.
you can't just
No.
acquiesce to everyone's expectations.
Well, no, and I might have expectations that are just completely unreasonable.
Yeah. Right.
So I think that the biggest takeaway from this is having the vulnerability to be able to put your expectation out there truthfully, and your partner or your whoever you're having, let's just use partner right now, to be able to be honest about their expectation. And that if you have, this is what Brene Brown talked about. She had an expectation for a vacation. Her husband, Steve, had an expectation for vacation. They were so very different. And she said on past vacations, they would always get in these fights because they had these very different expectations. So this time, before the vacation, they sat down and talked about it. And they were able to compromise and meet in the middle. And they had this great vacation with their kids.
Hmm.
And I think that that's the biggest part, is being able to be vulnerable enough with the person you're talking to put your expectations out there, knowing that it's a negotiation.
For sure. Yeah.
And then they have to be honest with you on whether or not they can meet that expectation and what do they expect from you.
Yeah.
Because I could tell you all day long what I need from you, but if you don't tell me back, we're never going to meet.
Exactly. I mean, and that's what it comes down to, is that mind readers always end up disappointed. And so you do have to put yourself out there. So it does require a level of vulnerability to say, this is what I need. And then again, if that person cannot meet your expectations or continually fails to meet any expectation that you put out there, well, then maybe you just have to assess that relationship. That's a
They can
great
get a
way.
job someplace else.
That's right. So this applies to an organization, a relationship. You are not bound and shackled to where you are, and don't come at me like, oh, it's my job. Like I can't quit. Yes, you can. It's my relationship. I can't leave it. Yes, you can. So I think listeners, just think about what conversation that you have been avoiding, either in your professional atmosphere, in your organization, or in your personal life. What expectation have you not verbalized to someone? And what need are you waiting for someone else to notice and to speak up? So before we go, I want to thank all of our listeners for spending the part of our day with us. If today's conversation resonated with you and you'd like some more of these ideas in your life, I write a free weekly newsletter that explores leadership, relationships, resilience, and these kinds of moments of reckoning that shape who we become. It's where many of the conversations between Chris and I be before they even make it to this podcast. And you can subscribe there at kristenzeman.com/blog. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Until next time, I'm Kristen Zeman.
And I'm Chris Tony, co-host.
So take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and don't wait too long to say the thing, because a moment of reckoning isn't the crisis. It's the moment when the truth becomes impossible to ignore. This is your moment of reckoning. Step into it.